Howdy, I'm Grey Pilgrim. Well, in 1871, the Mauser brothers were working on a contract. They had just gotten a contract to make a single-shot black powder rifle for the German government, and that was the 1871. The rifle did well, and over time they improved it and did various versions of it. By 1893, they had developed something called the 96. They'd come up with something called the 1896. Now this happens to be an M38. It's a Swedish rifle. I have a 1896 Swedish version of this, but I just need one of each, so I pulled this one out. It's very similar to the original 1871. Uses the same kind of flag safety that I think they came up with in 1872 because the government didn't like the safety they originally put on it. But it has a flag safety on it, and it's a beautiful rifle. It has it doesn't have one of the locking lugs that the later 1898 had. Well, by 1898 they came up with the Gewehr 98, excuse me, which that one was used by the German army during World War I. Well, Germany lost World War I, and part of the Versailles Treaty that ended World War I was that Mauser could no longer make these rifles. So they sold the tooling for it to Czechoslovakia, and they set up the Brno factory and made the VZ 24, which is, this is on the Mauser tooling, this particular rifle. And it was well received then, and after Czechoslovakia was taken over by the Germans in World War II, they continued to make versions of this for the German army. They made cut-down carbine versions of it. Why? Because in the meantime, Germany has, in World War II, had by that time decided that a carbine was much better than that long rifle, and they came up with a K98K. This is an actual K98K. If you went out and bought one of these today, it's well over $1,000. This one was a cut down, well, almost cut down, sporterized one. And my cousin happened to have this stock, so I put it in this stock and got some other parts and paraphernalia to put it together and make an actual K98K. What's unique about this is what you really look for is matching numbers, because Mauser is pretty anal retentive when it comes to matching the numbers of every single part on this thing. This one's unique in that the numbers on none of these parts match. Every one of them is distinct, because I picked them up surplus or eBay and put them on this rifle. But I mean, this bolt does not match the chamber, does not match the barrel, does not match, well, this is missing this piece on the site because I tried to install it and it didn't quite work. These, the rings, the nose piece, the butt plate, none of it matches, none of it. Anyway, but meanwhile, now Mauser, when they were selling off rifles, I guess they got the idea from World War I when they had to sell off their tooling. Whenever they made a rifle, like the Swedish one, they would take the rifle and the contract would say, okay, I'll buy 10,000, 100,000, whatever, rifles from you. And also you would need to build us a factory to make them in our home country so that we can then make them from then on, which is why that is an M38, because Sweden had the factory to build the Model 1896 Mauser. Well, they took that to many, many other areas and sold the tooling to, among other ones, the Ottoman Empire. And by the time of the Young Turks Rebellion, the Turkish Mauser, this is a Turkish Mauser, which is basically built on tooling that was built by Mauser in Constantinople. I think it's in Constantinople. Anyway, so it's a Turkish Mauser. In like manner, they made this. Let me get this one out. This is a Spanish Mauser. This one's in 7mm Mauser, but it's a Spanish Mauser. Went through the Spanish Civil War, but Germany profited by that war, and this was the result of them building a rifle over in Spain. You can find these rifles throughout Argentina, Chile, other South American countries, China, everywhere. You can find versions of this rifle. One I find that is very unique and very interesting, and this is actually a Czech rifle, but it was made under contract. Oh, come on now. Yeah, thank you. This is a King Carol carbine. This was made by the Czechs on the VZ24 pattern, but made as a carbine before the K98K came out. This was to arm the Romanian civilization before they finally kicked out their king. But this was actually developed by King Carol's government to arm their army. If it had the crest on it, it would be worth a whole lot of money. But the crest is worn off on this one. But you can see there's enough of it still remaining to tell that that's a King Carol carbine. Also, it just ticks all the boxes for it, and it's an absolutely beautiful and very flat shooting rifle. This is an 8 Mauser, by the way. But anyway, the Mauser is an interesting rifle design. There are so many variants on it, and so many countries use this thing throughout the bolt action period. After World War II, a lot of K98Ks ended up in, among other places, Israel. In 1948, when they declared independence and immediately had a war with the Arab countries, their armies were all sporting Mauser rifles, because that's what they had. Well, they had sort of a bunch of rifles from everywhere, but mainly they were using Mausers. It's just interesting factoid of history. But Mausers are all over the history of war over the last, what would that be? 200 years. There's 200 years of Mauser productions going on now, which is, I think, kind of interesting. Just, well, at least 150. No, 200, I suppose. Yeah. Huh. Anyway, that's about all I got to talk about. Happy trails.